having a little bit of technical difficulties. I've gotten a lot of questions about the internet. We don't have like a group access code. I bought one for the screen. There's $10 a piece if y'all want to grab yourself one. But our technical issue is the internet's crawling. So I'm trying to get files that are on Ignite right now. Also, some people have emailed me stuff. So I'm going to be trying to get the agenda up soon. In the meantime, I do know the first order of business is credentialing, so we can move forward with that regardless. So, Gary, if you want to take it away.
John Wilford.
Present.
Stephen Harris.
Present.
Gary Johnson, present. Tessie Villa. Madeline Krause.
Here.
Kevin Hale.
Here.
Jennifer Payne. Jennifer Payne. Gary Ganya. Gary Ganya. Scott Ford.
Here. Should have said Scott Ford's name earlier.
DJ Howard. DJ Howard. Amy Brown.
Here.
Phil McKenzie.
Here.
Kathy Glass.
Here.
Tom Glass.
Here.
Sean Jones. Sean Jones. Eric Van Sinkle.
Present.
Renee Perez. Renee Perez. Liz LeBlanc.
Here.
Jeffrey Adams.
Here.
Brian Bufard.
Here.
John Holm.
Yep.
Bob Townsend.
Here.
George Reynolds. Here. David Turner. David Turner.
He's not making.
Lee Sharp.
I made it. Oh, just missed it. Oh, just missed it.
Nice.
Stephen Heskett.
Here.
Bill Kelsey.
Here.
Neil Dyckman. Neil Dyckman.
He's not making it.
Carol Unsicker.
Here.
Mike Dooley.
Present.
Kyle Russell.
Here.
Christopher Clemens.
Yes.
Urian Young.
Here.
Andrew Ameling.
Here.
Mike Ryan. Mike Ryan. Then the other two. District 19. What's the deal with District 19? We have three. Anthony is Anthony's back up.
Yeah, so he was removed last time, and he has since had a convention. He's back on.
Yeah, what's Joanne?
Yes, she is.
So Mike Ryan is not.
No, Mike was removed, what, 2?
No,
Mine's 18.
18, okay.
Oh, he's 18. All right.
Okay.
Joe's almost here. Joe versus. On me.
Joe's on.
He'll be right here.
So Mike Ryan is 18, he's not here. Okay, Anthony Valdivia.
Here.
All right. And Joanne Valdivia.
No, she's not gonna make it. Sick day.
Mark Lowy.
Here.
Rick Hubbard.
Here.
Stephen Carter. Stephen Carter. Eric Schaefer. Eric Schaefer. Eugene Flynn. Eugene Flynn. Joe Burns. Not here tonight.
Not yet.
Oh, he's on his way. Ben Farmer.
Present.
Tim Martinez.
Rudy's there.
Shelton Nickel.
Here.
Rebecca Condon.
Here.
Arthur Thomas.
Present.
Frank Lozano.
Present.
Brad Clardy. Brad Clardy. Jordan Lindenkugel. Jordan Lindenkugel. David Shaw.
Here.
Barry Hill. Barry Hill. Shannon Thompson.
Here.
You say you're gonna tell me something?
In SD 30, I received the minutes, I don't know when I received it, last night, for Teresa Rangel. Ragel, sorry.
A-E-R-E-S-A?
ESA-RAGLE. And if you could, Teresa,
You're here.
yes.
Okay.
And if you could, Teresa, after the meeting, or maybe at some break point, let's get together, kind of get some more info from you, but we have it. We'll go from there.
Welcome.
Yay. So including Renee Friel, I got 40.
You got 40 present?
Yes. That's 40.
We can.
Cool. And what are,
What are town?
yeah,
Well, I had 54 before I did that.
and she makes 55.
55.
That's mine. That agrees. And was anyone removed?
Well, I haven't got it.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Did you get with me?
I'll let you hear.
And just in time, I see Joe Burns walk in. Before you got removed.
What?
Joe, what's your district?
24. Sorry.
What's your district?
24.
48. Just in the town, Joe.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah. Pretty good.
how's that? Alright, let's come to order.
Stephen Carter,
Stephen Carter?
he was not here in the 30th.
What else?
He's not here now. Eugene Flynn. Bill Burns is not here. Brad Clardy.
What SDs are those?
Oh, I see, go
Stephen
back
Carter.
here. The Stephen card is 22. Eugene Flynn is 23.
23.
Brad Clardy is 28. Jordan Lindenkugel is 28. No, I believe those are the ones I got.
Okay, and that brings our total down to 51, right? With 4 removed.
Yes, we added one.
Okay, so, yeah, 51. Okay, so I'll just announce again, I don't know who all could hear. But we had 4 people removed for absence. That is Stephen Carter in 22, Eugene Flynn in 23, Brad Clardy in 28, Jordan Lincool in 28. That brings the total body down to 51. And those present are 41. And I do recognize the quorum. So let's go with that. Did anyone have any disputes on those numbers? Hearing nothing. Let me pull up the agenda again. Okay, change to SLEC removal for absence. Okay. My favorite part, adopt agenda. So this is the R3 that was uploaded last night with only 2 minor changes from R2 that were announced beforehand. I'll go ahead and recognize Arthur.
I move to adopt agenda R3.
Okay,
Second.
and second. Is there objection to R3?
I have a point of information.
Point of information, please.
Does this hotel allow people to bring in pizza and stuff to eat the lunch?
I think we did last time. I think Jim's kind of nodded yes. So.
I want to let people know that about an hour before lunchtime, I probably will order some pizza.
Okay.
Just so that people can hang around and do that. I'll probably order about 8 pizzas.
Cool.
And then anybody who wants to help me out.
Absolutely. All right, well, with that said, I heard no objection to adopting the agenda, so I'm going to say we adopted the agenda. That was the quickest I think we've ever done that.
Good job, please.
All right, next up is previous to meetings minutes.
Point of inquiry.
Yes.
Would the chair ask the body if there would be any objections to having a short moment of silence in memory of Bill Green, the one individual cast the vote for Ron Paul who died recently?
I don't think that would be a problem at all. Would y'all mind having a quick moment of silence? Let's do that. All right, thank you. All right, on to adopting, previous 2 meetings minutes. I know the 2 meetings past was uploaded like the day of the last meeting, and this one's been up for a couple days now. So, with that said, does anybody want to make a motion? Yes.
I'll make 2 motions. First, I move we adopt the December minutes, which we put on the table last night.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there objection? Hearing no objection, that passes. Mr. Glass?
I move we adopt the March minutes with one amendment, which I have placed on Ignite and which I have provided to Gary, and which I have confirmed, since I was paraphrasing John Wilford in the comments, I have confirmed with him.
I'll go ahead and read this amendment to the minutes. In the fundraising committee section, before the sentence that reads, the motion to amend the amendment passed with 18 in favor and 16 against, add the sentence as follows. John Wilford stated that if either the fundraising committee or the development department presented him with a plan for spending money budgeted for development activities, he would authorize the expenditure whether the amendment to the amendment passed or not. And to give some reference, there was some discussion over whether we needed to authorize a separate budget for our fundraising committee or if we could just use the development department, and I was making the statement, we can authorize the funds either way. So I have no objection to this being in there, so he's moving the minutes with that addition. So is there a second to that?
Second.
Is there objection? Hearing no objection, that passes. Moving right along.
Don't you?
Yeah.
Did you want Mr. Schaefer, Eric Schaefer, join us?
Eric Schaefer.
Oh,
What, SD?
22.
22.
Sorry.
Cool. And with that said, on to officers report. Yeah. What time is it? 9:17, okay. All right, so I'm up first. Things are moving along. Convention committee, we'll give more details later, but they've been touring. As you can see, we have good plans put forward for where we want to meet. We are right now, so the main thing I've been dealing with is interfacing with Oliver and getting things moving forward with the lawsuit. I know there have been a lot of questions around that. Oliver will be on the phone later to discuss, and so we can all kind of ask him questions as far as that goes. There was something else that just popped out of my head. So at this time, I'll open up for questions. Nothing?
On the website for county chairs, we have, in Harrison County and some others, we just say vacant. What does that mean? Are they organized things?
That's a good question. If Anastasia and Randy, those would probably be the best. Randy?
Anastasia, so much, she's not here.
Yeah.
Yeah, historically on the website, this is officially Anastasia's area, but it's just not here. Historically on the website, any affiliated counties on the website, that county becomes unaffiliated. We've left it on the website, obviously with the hope that we'll fill that sooner rather than later. If something remains unfilled, I'm happy to remove it. It's not hard to add those. It's pretty easy. Usually I'm just waiting for Carrie and Ken to tell me that. So if he tells me to update one, I can do that.
Okay.
Well, I think that's confusing. If we only say vacant for counties that were recently organized and have come unorganized,
Yeah.
because they got nobody here, versus the rest of the 254 counties in Texas
Yeah.
that aren't organized. I just don't see what it.
Yeah, I think, I've left that my opinion is that I've left that up to Terry McKenna, county coordinator, and I'm fine with whatever he wants to do. The big challenge is listing 200 plus counties as vacant is silly.
If you're not there and organized, then your county's not organized.
Yeah, I look at it as that's an opportunity. If somebody's in that county, they see it's vacant, maybe that pushes them to apply or get involved.
Let's take this offline.
Yeah.
I do appreciate the question,
Beneficial.
but yeah, we can deal with that later. But yeah, well,
I have another
yeah,
question.
go ahead.
We've appointed a lot of temporary chairs, and as far as I can see, none of them in the last year or so have held any meetings to become permanent, to elect other officers or anything like that. Are we pushing them to do that now, or are we just letting them? Because we've gone back and forth about this. Should we push them to hold an organizational meeting and get organized, or we're going to remove them as temporary chair if they don't do that? So we're on that.
Yeah, so I think most of them are holding meetings. A lot of times, I don't go and report when the meeting happens and do all that. And a lot of them are interfacing with Carrie on that, and he's kind of doing that, so it never actually gets to me. I can follow up with Carrie and get some information there. understand what you're, because that's kind of,
Because if on the website it says temporary chair,
I see.
then that tells me they haven't had a meeting, they haven't elected a permanent officer.
Yeah. So let's, I think Carrie and Anastasia and Randy need to sit down and probably get that whole section straightened out. So,
Just to add to that conversation, I would say that historically, there was a period of time when when a county did have its meeting to become permanent, if they adopted bylaws that would be put up on Ignite, if their minutes would be put up on Ignite, et cetera, so that, everybody could see it as it happened.
Yeah. And I don't have the answer to that, but I'll definitely try and facilitate a meeting there so we can get it.
I like that practice.
Yeah, I agree. I don't dislike it myself. I know there have been a couple times when counties have come to me with a mess, and I've had to sort out those bylaws become important. So, yes, I will look into that whole situation with operations and the county department. So, oh, cool, awesome. All right, anything else for me? All right, short and simple. Okay. All right, with that said, Cassie, and I'll go ahead and start pulling up your report.
Okay, I posted the report a few days ago. Any questions? I included our budget that was passed and where we are in relation to that, and then I also included a separate false project budget so you can see where we are, how much we have left.
How much is in our reserve account?
$10,154.08.
From a financial point of view, what do you think would be a prudent amount to authorize to be spent on the state convention in 2020?
I think that'll be good to talk about with the convention committee. However, I do think that, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, I think around 35 to 38,000 is what we're thinking if we choose the right venue. It does depend on the venue because some are way more expensive than others. So
The range of the prices of the venues go from 35 up to, I think it's like 67,000.
yeah,
So depending on which one we decide, that's gonna
set our budget and then that's gonna determine the ticket prices we have to charge and all that, so,
we'll have a presentation on the insurance this afternoon.
yes.
Do you think we are on pace to make our budget projection?
We are not, so John, if you can scroll to the chart, yeah, right there. You can see that I purposefully did it June 30th because that's the halfway point of the year, so the numbers on the right column should be half of the numbers on the left column. You can see from the income side, we are not at half, we are way under half, which is a problem. Our expenses are also way under half. So there's that. We are not spending very much either.
So that means donations are down?
Donations are down, yes. We are, if you go to the bottom, we are operating at a loss. We did start out this session with a big surplus, so, we are running out of money because we're not raising as fast as we're spending. But that's the state right now. We need to raise more money. Absolutely.
What are our top three expenditure items?
You could look on here, they're mostly, I guess Nation Builder is probably the biggest, which is our website, database, which is obviously necessary.
Office space, the office is.
Office space, I guess, if it's like 200 or
Yeah.
so.
That's the virtual office.
Yeah, the virtual office.
Really, we cannot cut expenses back anymore. We are operating at an extremely low expenses. The solution is really income.
This I think to John John, but what is a nation builder? Are we paying off an agreement that we made in the past? Because that seems like a lot.
No, it's an ongoing agreement. The way that their pricing schedule works out is it is based on the number of contacts in your database. We also have a mid-grade package. I know in the past, you know the history there of we got the professional whatever. But right now it's a pricing scheme solely based on our contacts. We can try and go and clean some of that up and maybe hit a bracket down. And I don't really know if we can pull out that many. And then there's a whole process of sorting through a good contact versus a bad contact and what does that entail. But I guess to answer your question directly, it's ongoing.
And Nation Builder, we're a volunteer organization, no paid staff, everybody's volunteering, and everybody's already trained on Nation Builder. It's pretty easy to onboard new volunteers with it. I'm terrible at computers, it took me like an hour to learn how to use it, so I would say that's something that's working.
Yeah, it has many great attributes. We have it in Harris County, but we don't use a whole lot.
Yeah.
So if you're not using it, paying for it is.
We're using it at the state level, like when we did the vault project, I had to set up a new page in it, and that's how we took donations, and that facilitated a great fundraising drive through vault project, so I don't use it.
I would say, to your point, we are definitely not using it as effectively as we could. And we're definitely not using it as effectively as we have in the past. That is one thing I'm working with my team on. There's two kind of issues here. One is there's been a transition that's been happening for a couple months where newsletter, that kind of stuff is moving over to communications. It was under Anastasia. She's handing that off for a couple reasons, actually. And so that transition is happening, and Randy is getting kind of up to speed on that. And secondly, we've kind of made a push. We've recently brought on someone to lead our development department. And so we were really leaning on volunteers there for a little while. So we have a bunch of new blood that we're trying to okay, here's the tool, use it. So to your point, it is definitely being underutilized right now. And in the past, I think it's been a much better tool, and it can be again after we get people.
I'm going to the Harris County list of trying to put people on, because that are dormant or maybe not even on.
Right.
But trust me, you pay for them.
Yeah.
I mean, one good example is, if somebody unsubscribes from your email stuff, it may be included, maybe they don't want to be in your database.
Yeah, well, and one of the things that we've done with it that's been kind of a good and a bad is we have our generic position emails going into Nation Builder. So if someone emails me, Jay Wilford at healthcare.org, it goes to my inbox. But if they email chair, it forwards to me, but it also forwards to the chair contact in Nation Builder. That one gives us a history, so when we go to pull up someone's record, we can see, oh, they emailed John about this thing, so that's some way we can get in touch with them. But that also means every time someone tries to email me to tell me I won the India lottery, that creates a contact in our database because an email hit our system. So it's kind of a thing there. So.
But I feel like this is not really finance.
Yeah, we've kind of drifted here.
Yeah, actually, I have a question.
Good, awesome.
So, would you say that it seems as though perhaps we have fewer monthly donors as opposed to the one-offs?
Yeah.
Is that,
I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Definitely our monthly donations have fallen. Part of that is what I've said at every single meeting, that people's credit cards expire if we just need some money, we can call them. I think now we have some volunteers who stepped up very recently, so maybe we'll get on that again. I think, and John was the treasurer before, so he might be able to speak to this. It's also like not a campaign year, so it's always historically slower on the odd years.
Yeah, I mean, this is the time of year when things lull, and here in a little while, things are gonna pick up really heavily when convention starts kicking up. I will say also, this has been a heavier lull than we've had in the past, but this is lull season.
Yeah. But we definitely need to, I'm not saying that this is not a problem, but I'm also not like running around here on fire like we're out of money. But I am definitely saying, we're gonna be out of money. We don't correct this downward curve. Any more questions?
I have one. How many people do you have on that list of the expiring credit cards? Do you know?
I get, maybe 2 or 3 emails a week. Maybe that's high. 1 or 2 emails a week, maybe, that people's credit cards have expired.
So overall, how many do we have in our database with that problem?
I don't know.
100, 200?
Lots.
Yeah.
Lots?
A lot.
But see, part of the problem with that is it keeps track of expired credit cards, so that could be somebody that was donating 5 years ago, or whose credit card expired yesterday. And so if we pull up a list of everybody, so some of them just don't want to donate anymore, and some of them have expired cards, so you have to.
So like to your point earlier, somebody needs to go and
I
Yes.
think that a huge percentage of them, if we just call them,
would say, oh,
when it's been convenient, like this, Arthur's credit card expires, and he's at my house every day. I'm like, hey. And he does, you know, like, so I feel like if somebody, I just have no
Right.
time to do that. So-
Andrew Emeling has already started that process.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to him last night, he was mentioning a few people that he reached out to, they were like, hey, yeah, I didn't know. And we've also been talking about, so in the past, when I was treasurer, I had it set up to send an automatic email to somebody when their credit card expired. When Melinda came in, she decided that was a bad idea and turned it off, because she thought it was better to have a personal touch of somebody personally reaching out. And I don't disagree, but.
the fail safe was taken off. The fail safe was taken off. Right.
And I was talking to Andrew about that. We can get that going again.
All right. Yeah, let's leverage nation builders tools to do that. That was all. Thank you.
So the numbers here mean that we're making about a little over $1,000 a month, right? That's how. So that's the equivalent of 100 people giving $10 a month in the state of Texas.
It's bad.
And if we have 40 people here and they all go find one person, we can almost double the amount of income that we're getting. Okay.
Just saying.
Was that a question? I feel like-
I just wanted to be sure. Those numbers were correct. Because they seem a
Point
bit
of information.
Point of information.
I did run the numbers, and if every member, right now, the actual budget is every member of SLEC giving $25 a month. We could meet the budget number if every member of SLEC gave $32 a month.
Just saying.
That idea, if you remember, was at the state convention in 2016.
I'm not saying that we should force.
He just really pointed
But there might be some cheapskates in it.
Consent's important.
It is important.
Let's move on.
Okay, yeah, that's.
Did we say that there is somebody working on the follow-up for?
Right behind you.
Okay.
And so very recently.
We'll be talking more about this in about.
Yeah.
Okay.
If y'all want to wait, there's a whole presentation coming up on this. Our presentation here, but
We'll talk about it.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Moving along. Let me get this guy off the screen. There we go. Oh, what you did the wrong way. Okay, political action. Eric, are you in our mix? He is not. Okay. Ted, you want to go ahead?
Yes.
This is Ted Brown, who's our candidate coordinator.
Yes. So, hello everybody.
Hi, Jen.
Hi. So I'm not sure why Eric usually would introduce me here, but anyway, the situation is, obviously, I've been in contact with some of you and about the candidates. I've been getting emails or contact through the LP Texas website and National LP website about people who are interested in running for office in Texas. And I've sent the names to the counties who are organized, and I've gotten responses back from Dallas, Tarrant, Behar, and Smith so far.
There.
So anyway, certainly the counties should do as much candidate recruiting as they can, but I want to have as much, assist as much as possible. Wes Benedict is back in the back there. He's going to be assisting quite a bit as well. And it's just a matter of, it seems like we have about like 4.5 months until the filing deadline. And it really is it's a long time. I mean, once the process keeps ramping up about contacting candidates, it doesn't really take a long time to do that. It's just a matter of making sure the process is organized. Now I have interviewed a couple of candidates myself. One gentleman actually drove up to Austin from Houston, wanting to be interviewed to be a candidate. So, and I met with him, and he seems like a good choice. I sent his name to Kathy, and a gentleman from Williamson seems like a really good choice as well. So, it's just a matter of, I can't meet with everybody, but I'm going to talk to them on the phone if that works out. There were a couple of volunteers from, yes, sir.
I was just curious, would you mind sharing the name of the person you drove from Houston? I don't know, that seems like a lot of dedication. That seems like he's really
It is. His name is Jonathan McCutcheon. He seems like a very, willing to
So
run
you
for
keep an eye open if you should drive,
Yeah, he's willing to run for any congressional seat in the Houston area. So, in fact, I recommended that this is the case for anybody who's like a newcomer who's volunteering. I urge them to get involved in their, come to their county meetings, get to meet people, find out what's going on. And he said that he would do that, and he may even come to this meeting to meet people as well. So we'll see about that. So there were a couple of volunteers from counties that aren't even organized. So maybe we can also get them to be. I heard the earlier testimony here about a lot of unorganized counties. So it would be good if that's another thing. If they don't end up as a candidate, maybe they'll end up as a county chair to help organize the county, or both. No reason not to do both. They just nominate themselves. Nominate themselves, right? Yes, Amy.
Are you, I know it's hard when you're trying to get to know somebody, but do you ask them kind of how they might have donated in recent elections to candidates? Because I know the guy in Williamson County donated to my Democrat opponent, and they're very good friends, and she told me that she sent him our way.
Oh, okay. Maybe that actually didn't really want him around or something.
I guess she figured he had a better chance of getting the nomination on our ticket than the Democrat ticket, but we've had some interesting, when he's come to our meeting, we've had some interesting conversations regarding, what do you believe the government's role is in that? Because you're saying it's a problem, but are you saying you want the government to solve that? So there are some people who might not really be genuinely interested in serving our party. They might just want to use our ticket.
Yes, you are correct about that. I found that in the past as well. But I did, the gentleman you're talking about, I met with him, we chatted for about 90 minutes the other day.
Okay, so maybe he's coming around.
And he is, there was one issue where he seemed rather statist, I will agree with you there. But it wasn't one of our most major issues, and some of the ones that we really, are the red meat for libertarians, he seems to be right in the general vicinity. But it's true, it's hard to find, for each of us, if I say, I'm a libertarian, and anybody that his views are not mine, they're not a pure libertarian. I'm the one who's the pure libertarian. You're not a pure libertarian. You're not a pure libertarian. But then you're saying, well, I'm the pure libertarian. You're not the pure libertarian. So it's like there's a certain attitude, there's sort of a libertarian attitude, I guess, and and obviously I've been interviewing them on a certain number of issues that really, like, say for example, if someone's for gun control, that they would make a good libertarian candidate, for example. Or if they say, you know, I think that marijuana, anybody that uses that stuff should be locked up for good. Now, that shouldn't be a libertarian candidate, but there's a little bit of flexibility on some of the other issues. Yes, Tom?
I thank you very much for getting the counties involved. I know that in Harris County, we're very much actively involved in recruiting as well. So coordination is a good thing.
Yes.
So thank you. The other question I want to ask you is, has anybody asked, and what are you saying, even if asked or not, about the filing fee?
Yes,
You know,
yes.
And how is that impacting what's going on, and what are you saying?
Well, I think what we should do is to do normal candidate recruitment without respect to the filing fee issue. Because I know some people might be addressing the lawsuit at some point, and but the question is, the law is so poorly written, we don't know when the filing fees will be due. And that's the big question. We are in a lot of trouble if they're going to demand the filing fee when somebody files.
Yeah.
Because reason being, well, obviously it costs a lot of money, but would someone put up $3,000 to run for Congress or any of the other filing fees if they don't even know they're going to be our candidate or not? You know, they're taking a big risk there. And also, if the party can't really help them if they're not the party candidate, they can say, oh, this guy may be a libertarian candidate someday if we nominate him, so the party can't donate money for the filing fee if the person's not even been nominated as our candidate. Where it would work out better for us, obviously, is if we could go through the whole process, nominate all our candidates, and then after April, they send us a bill for the filing fees. That will have given us more time to challenge the filing fee, and also time to raise money to help people pay them. And some people, like say, for example, if I was a candidate and I was already nominated, knew I was nominated, I would pay the filing fee, but I wouldn't do that if I didn't know I was going to be nominated or not, you know. So so waiting until at the end would be good for us, but why would the government do something that's good for us? We have to keep that in mind as well, so we're not always looking out for our best, in fact, we're never looking out for our best interests. Yes?
I'm Liz the Libertarian. So I am curious about this because last cycle I was under the impression that when a candidate came, or a potential candidate came to me and was requesting to run as a libertarian, I had to sign their paperwork for them to go to our convention, and then at that point, the nomination from the Libertarian Party. So what I'm hearing you saying is you're interviewing, and even though I could have interviewed them as well,
sure, I
still had to fill out the paperwork, or was I wrong? I mean, if someone shows up wearing tinfoil, can I just be like, no?
Well, I think it's still like register as a candidate. That doesn't mean they're going to be nominated at your county.
Do I have to sign a tinfoil paperwork?
Yes.
Okay.
At what stage is that?
So I think what she's talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, whenever somebody puts in an application to run, the state doesn't have the option to say, we don't like him, we don't accept it. We have to accept that application.
Yeah.
Where we can block them is at convention, we can vote to not nominate them, but we have to accept the application.
Exactly. So there's still that out. Say at your county convention, tinfoil Timmy comes to the convention. He's registered as a candidate.
He's sitting right
there. Liberation there, They're the only candidate registered for the office. They come to your county convention and say, oh my God, and you vote for none of the above. Then you're fine.
I have one follow-up for you on this same topic.
Yeah.
Because you are very experienced in this. Last cycle we did really well in our county recruiting. I think we could do better if I did have a little bit more information about the kinds of questions I need to be asking, where I need to be reaching out. Do you have some sort of a help document or anything like that?
I should write something up on that. It's more like it's a little different here in Texas. I did this in California for like 25 years or something. And it was a matter of, after a while, after the first couple of times, I started to have this Rolodex of candidates. I kept calling a certain number of people I knew. Oh, in that county, this guy will do it, or in that county, that guy will do it, and pretty much got that built up. Here, I don't know a lot of people, and of course, the counties are more involved in the process. Back there, they said, oh, Ted's going to do it, so none of the counties didn't bother. They said, oh, I took care of it. So here, it's much better if you know the people in your local area and all that. It's true. Some people who are like maybe newer chairs or wouldn't know quite what to ask the candidate. You should have like an instinctual idea of like who would you want to have as a libertarian candidate. Thinking like if you're a libertarian, you go to the polling place, who would you want to vote for? You know, you don't want to vote for the guy that again wants to take your guns away. What if somebody sounds like a Democrat or sounds like a Republican? You know. So you can probably, there's probably issues that you're interested in, maybe that I'm not, you might ask the person about that. But there's some pretty basic ones, you know, like about interventionist foreign policy, drug war, taxes, regulation, guns. You know, there's several of those. Education, at least at the federal level, should the feds be involved in that. You know, I don't know. And then there's secondary issues as well. Immigration's one. I'm going to talk to 20 people and get 20 different answers on that one. That's kind of, there's a certain like maybe range where we can get into, but we have to accept like a number of different viewpoints on that one. We're not going to have any candidates probably.
According to Facebook.
What I'm kind of thinking of is like public speech. Like if you have write-ups that we can do for media and we can send it to our newspapers and things like that. If you have samples that you've written in the past, like, hey, check out us awesome libertarians here. This is what we say. If you have just like some standard documents that we can adjust for our local area and send it out to our local media, that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Oh, are you talking about ticket candidates or promoting candidates?
For recruiting interested candidates, for recruiting people who call themselves libertarian, who never show up, who don't go to our websites, things like that. I'm looking to expand our recruiting effort.
Well, you might get more tinfoil people that way if you start putting out like.
Well, we might, and I'll sign their paperwork and I'll talk to them, but, you know, at our convention, I'll handle it that way. I was just hoping maybe I didn't have to sign it. But, I mean, we also, last cycle, I got some exceptional candidates from some public outreach that I just wasn't expecting to get in, and it wasn't through our typical Libertarian Party channels.
Okay.
I'll take your suggestion and work with the communications team. We'll get some stuff to you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
I'm also working for a candidate resource, candidate in the box resource packet with links and things like that for candidates to be able to get their cards, signs, website, template, everything. We'll have something like that hopefully soon that we can present. I also want to mention, even though we're coming up towards the November elections, we always need to keep the May elections in mind. And if you've got people interested in local offices, they need to get a board commission now. Have them apply in their cities to a board or commission, because most cities have a shortage of applicants. They can't fill all the seats on their boards and commissions. And that's resume building. That builds your reputation at the local level. So when the May elections come up and you put your name in the hat, you're not out of the sky, sort of thing. So resume building is really important. I think it's something we've lacked tremendously. We've not done a great job of resume building in our party. Boards and commissions is where it starts. That's your entry level.
Now, that's a good point. Now, see, I haven't even thought of that. Didn't even know about the May elections. But I've been more interested in the partisan offices of congressional, state senate, state house, and of course, we're going to have some statewide offices as well, like Supreme Court and U.S. Senate and all. But that's correct. A lot of libertarians, in fact, most libertarians are not involved in the community, which is unfortunate. That's why a lot of people are not hearing about libertarian ideas, because we're not out there telling them at local events or local meetings or whatever. And it's true. Our candidates were just someone's going to run for Congress, and they've never done anything before in the community. They're like, well, how is this guy qualified to run for Congress? Well, Congress is more interested. The state legislature is more interested. What's going on at the Capitol is more interesting maybe than what's going on at the local water board or something. But it's true about getting yourself out there. You have to show that you're willing to be involved.
Sure, and if you're going to learn the lessons of a failed election, it's better to do it at a local level when the cost is $2,500 than at a state level where it can be 10 times or 100 times that.
But now sometimes it goes the opposite direction.
Right, and you have a much better chance of winning it.
Oh, exactly. But it's someone who runs for like the higher office, like for Congress or for state senate. That might be the first time out, and then they see that they're interested in that sort of thing, and then later they'll run for the local office, realizing that that's more something they can do. I know a number of people who have done that, where they, like I called them to run for office, they ran for like state legislature, and then they came back and they said, I'm going to get involved in my local community instead. I'm going to go Arno Olivier, who was the LP candidate for vice president. Oh, I'm sorry, I took you all your time.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're probably running a little bit over,
sorry,
but if anyone has any more questions, we can.
You can see me later.
Yeah.
And, I appreciate what you said to me from Harris County. I looked up on Ignite, and I don't think any of these names were on there. And I think if we kept the Ignite updated with these inquiries, it would lessen your workload, because we can go there. And if you just send someone from Harris County to the Harris County chair, and nobody else from any other county, then I'm losing contacts, because Harris County has a lot of districts that overlap county lines, like SD 17. I'm trying to recruit a candidate from SD 17. I'll work for Harris County, but then I'll work for Fort Bend, and I'll work to other counties to see, can I find a candidate there? So I don't limit my recruitment. Even though these people are going to show up on a Harris County ballot, they don't have to be a Harris County resident to run for that. So
do you have access to the other counties to look them up?
if you put them on Ignite.
So
Yeah, so we don't want parents stuff on Ignite then.
So on the point of stuff going on Ignite, I know that there are a lot of people that were happy in the past that when Arthur was managing Ignite, we have recruited Arthur to the records department. And he is now back to managing Ignite. So I can't speak to exactly what he's going to do.
But I should shut mine down. If anybody wants to discuss, offline, or I'll be in the back, or whatever, please see me about the candidate issues.
Okay, next up we have Randy.
Thank you very much. My name is Randy. It's a pleasure to meet some of you all last night. I had a great time. Thank you. There's 2 slides.
Yeah, we did. Actually, while I'm pulling those up, I do want to.
If we can, that's okay.
Yeah, we can, absolutely. I want to make an announcement. I was supposed to make this at the beginning of the meeting, but we did have someone volunteer who is more than qualified for Sergeant at Arms. So if y'all we have Sean Baker at the back, and he's taking a So yeah, if y'all need anything, we have security now.
I've got 2 slides I'll show you very brief. John can pull them up in just a moment.
Okay, there's one.
Yeah, perfect. Hold up on number 1. I'm the head of the communications department. Been doing that since just after the election day last year. So I'll tell you real briefly what the purpose is of the PR communications department. It is as succinct as possible to grow our party's digital assets. What I mean by that is to protect the name. Our number 1 asset is the name Libertarian and Libertarian Party of Texas. We protect that. And to use all of our social media and platforms to continue to grow our party. Principally, that's our Facebook page, 23,000 followers, and our Facebook group, which is about 2,800, 2,900 right now. There's other things we do, other social media, Twitter, LinkedIn. We're going to talk about using a new platform called MeWe. It's interesting. You'll see. We also use all the tools at our disposal to continue to communicate everything our party is doing, hopes to do, for the purpose, of course, of growing our party. So I'll tell you principally, the last 6 or 7 months, the bulk of my efforts have been with our Facebook page. And although there's other things we have done, the bulk of my efforts are focused on that, partially because it's probably our greatest asset, and partially because it's my favorite asset. So I'll tell you, 2018, this is before I was even really involved at the state level, I was really just involved in my local county. Started the year with 19,938 page likes. We also use the term followers. Technically on Facebook, you can follow a page and not like it. They're nearly the same, so we use that term interchangeably. Finished the year 21,408, an increase of 1,478 over the course of 365 days. That's in an election year. 2019, first 6 months through June 30th, we grew up to 23,111, an increase of 1,703. That's more than double the rate of 2006. Very, very pleased with that. We put a lot of effort into myself, several other people in this group who've, in this room, made significant contributions to writing, helping comment, things like that. We've connected the Facebook page and the Facebook group, which is an official thing you can do on Facebook, and it allows people to recognize the officialness of that. We had some concerns over what would happen. We're getting 3,000 people all at once. We don't know. We've got quite a few since we did that in early May. I want to say several hundred just in the last 2 months, so that's been fun. So we look at the Facebook group as a place that's community. People can connect. We talk about libertarian ideas. We hash out our arguments, and there's value in that. We also use it for official party announcements, and we use it to recruit people to run for office just by posting things in there, and so there's a lot of benefit to that. I'll tell you briefly, because I've got 15 minutes, so I'll try to get this done in 3. I think our single greatest opportunity that we haven't touched, or at least I haven't done anything with up now, is Spanish-speaking voters. Because I don't speak Spanish more than 9th grade level, which is a couple of years ahead in high school, it's just challenging for me. About 3 weeks ago, we started a Partido de Texas, I don't even know how to say it. The Libertarian Party of Texas Spanish Facebook page. There are exactly 5 page likes right now, so it's definitely not as exciting as this. But that is a huge opportunity. I read recently there's probably a little over there's probably about 1 million Spanish-speaking voters in Texas, people who do vote and principally speak Spanish. That doesn't mean they don't speak English, but they principally speak Spanish. I think that's a huge opportunity. So I'm interested in recruiting people to our communications team who are articulate in the values of libertarianism, of course, by people who I can communicate with in English, and they can publish things in Spanish. I've got one person who's going to do a pretty good job of that, and I'd like to have 2 or 3 more. If you know anybody, you're on SLEC or in your county parties that fits that bill, send them my way. I'd like to talk to you some more. And that is all I've got. Any questions? Carol?
Instagram.
We're on Instagram too.
Okay, because I haven't gone to that.
Yeah, it's Instagram / LP Texas social media. It's a longer. Somebody else took LP Texas, and it's not where they get the party on.
You're hearing about how all of big tech, including Facebook and especially Twitter, is kind of being more and more anti-liberty in terms of the way it's doing. I administer lots of individual Facebook groups and pages. And for the first time in the last month, one of my groups, somebody posted a link to something where Facebook said that was fake news and told me that if I didn't take it down, that they were going to stop promoting the group out. And I wanted, it was pretty much fake news, so I wasn't arguing too much. But it didn't feel good. Let's put it that way. And I don't like that threat at me as an administrator of a group. I was wondering if you've had any problems in that regard so far.
Facebook will do that a lot when you're posting links. It'll take you away from Facebook. So that's the first red flag for them. So anything that stays on Facebook and doesn't include a link elsewhere, mostly I've seen is fine. We haven't had Facebook take down anything we've posted because mostly they have a reputation for being left-leaning. That's probably well earned. But if you're sharing your own opinion, which is essentially what our Facebook page is, sharing a libertarian opinion on news events or current events, we've let that go. And I haven't seen any single problems with that. So thank you. Oh, John.
I just wanted to kind of make a comment on that. I don't know that even if we did get that kind of takedown notice, if it would affect us too much, because Facebook, before they even started that, had already announced they were going to be actively suppressing political involved stuff. And I actually ran 2 campaigns back to back in election cycles when that whole program started, and saw like the sheer drop off on my reach from political posts to not. So I think we're probably already being suppressed pretty hard just because we are a political page, which makes this all the more, awesome. But so I don't know that maybe they suppress us further. I don't know, but just my 2 cents on the matter. Sure.
Just a personal input, I have friends across the board and spectrum, and when I share a meme and then I've seen my left friends sharing it, and I know they are active communists, and I see them sharing one of my libertarian memes, I'm just like, yeah! And then, and then the arguments with the Republicans, it's just good, but sometimes I think it has to be we are individual based on the individual liberty, that sometimes we have to spread it, we have good means, spread them, because it really hits home, like I said, when I see one communist and one Democrat spreading a libertarian meme out, it is good. I know the fact is I do keep track on my friends and their stats, so I know, so yes, I'm doing my own little profiling.
Yeah, and keep in mind how significant it is for people to see the word libertarian. Libertarian Party of Texas, Libertarian Party of National, whether they're sharing some other libertarian page from another state or county, to see that in somebody's newsfeed over and over, the impression that puts in your mind is a part of branding and marketing that cannot be difficult to quantify and measure. It's so wonderful. So anything that gets shared has the libertarian, we can see our logo, we can see the little torch eagle logo. Woo, love that, absolutely love that. Renee?
Are there any words or word combinations that are triggering?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some I know are pretty overt, but perhaps some are less overt. And so
you can't post about Donald Trump without getting 1,000 comments very quick.
But that's not suppression, so that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah. So in terms of suppression, if that's your question, no, I haven't seen that. I think it's mostly if you include a link to something that takes you off Facebook, because then they're going to look at that.
I have a recommendation. Don't call your transmission a train. Anytime that they block a link out, it's because they want money.
Yeah.
If you boost it, if you spend a little money to boost it, post it, it's that important to you, you're less likely to get it broken down.
Yeah. Yeah. That's also
Facebook is at the top an advertising company.
Yeah.
So if they make a little bit of money, they're less likely to suppress your outgoing links.
Yeah. So just on that, and then I'll finish up. We haven't spent any money boosting posts, what's called sponsored posts on Facebook. I lean against doing that, and the reason is this. I've done it on my county party page. We had great performance. It was easy. It was $5 for this and $10 for this. All of a sudden, we went from 350 followers to 700 over the course of the year. Tim and I spent maybe $100, probably not even that much over the course of the year. And then I noticed after I stopped doing that, reach on nearly every post dropped way down. In fact, it was so clear and obvious. It's a correlation. It doesn't necessarily mean equal causation, but I'm pretty convinced of it. Sometimes it's obvious. I feel like if we spent any money, even a few dollars on our Facebook, the future posts would drop significantly, and the end result is fewer people seeing their stuff. I would have to be convinced otherwise. And I bring that up because a lot of people have asked if we were spending money on that, and on Facebook right now, I oppose that unless it's absolutely necessary to urgently communicate something. So that hasn't been the case. Any other questions? I'd love to talk to you guys more. I'll be around at lunch if you have any questions or input.
And I see Mr. Sharp making his way up.
The church turned around.
Oh, this is Mr. Blank.
Right back. Hi, I'm Lee Sharp. I'm your IT director. I have almost nothing to report because my philosophy in IT consulting is go slow. Every time anybody gets in a hurry, eventually I get called to make a lot more money. Because every time you hurry, you make mistakes. I'm still trying to figure out what we have. What we have is all over the place. We have a lot of things that are duplicated and a lot of things that are not as efficient as they could be. And I see a lot of potential where we can combine resources and get more performance for less cost. But before I even start planning that, I need to know exactly what we're using, exactly how we're using it, and exactly why. Some of the things that I thought, oh, we can save a bunch of money here, I found out after talking with, well, no, actually, we can't do that for another year because we have a contract, or this kind of thing, or something that I thought didn't have value. No, actually, we're using it this way, and it's going to take a little while to figure out what we're doing. But I am seeing some great opportunities. It's just going to take a little while to shake out. And so, any questions?
Do we have an official Dropbox?
No.
Is there something,
Uh,
or the content exchange,
Well,
Slack, is that?
Ignite is the official content exchange, and it is limited and it is expensive per person. And so I'm looking at some other options, but before that, I need to know exactly how Ignite is. You know, there are a lot of, that's no definitive question, but we don't have Dropbox right now.
I'm just, thank you for taking over this first.
You already sold it.
I know, I'm not taking this lightly. But we do have an AWS server, and when we were getting data from the state, we do have an FTP location for large files and QR code, something like that, it's already paid for.
Okay, I wanted to talk to you about that, but I think that's just, I thought that was just going to be used for vault, so I don't know.
Well, it's our server.
Huh?
Yeah, it's a state server.
We'll talk more.
But just wanted to answer his question with a little bit more information.
Anything? Okay, then before, go ahead.
She's still working on a candidate in the box.
Well, I found out that there are two people working on Candidate in the Box, and I figured we ought to sit down and talk about that so that we don't duplicate efforts, because one of the people working on it has skills in one area, one of the people working on it has skills in another area. If we combine, we'll come up with a much better candidate in the box.
Yep, collaborate.
And we talked a little bit about that, just enough to say hi, and hopefully we can talk more today. Anything else? The one last thing to add is SLEC, the forum, when you join that. I don't know if everybody realizes, but apparently we have a lot of new SD members in Russia, about 10. And so
We're expanding.
and so I'm meeting them on a regular basis, and occasionally when that happens, I may accidentally delete someone that I didn't intend to, right up there. And so if you don't have your Slack forum account and you want to get that handled today while I'm here, and that would be great. And so, hint, hint. And that's right. There you go.
Thank you.
All right, up next we have Andrew Emmerling, and I'm working on getting our policy manual pulled up.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like there's going to be elections soon.
Yeah, I think this is what I'm All right, as he just said, I'm Andrew Emmerling, I'm the new development director. Volunteered for this, I guess, got this gig a couple of months ago. Kind of as a reaction to the March meeting, where I saw a couple of reports from department heads that I thought were very encouraging, motivating, and then I watched us set up a fundraising committee with no members that looked like it had a future. So looking at that and be the change you want to see in the world kind of stuff, it's like, okay, well, I don't have any experience in nonprofit or political fundraising. I have done some fundraising for business ventures, startup companies, and real estate investments, which are kind of the space between startup company and passive investments. But so I figured I've got at least that much. I know how to ask people for money. So I'll try that out, see if I can be of service in this way. In the past few months, I've had kind of an adventurous personal life. Son gets married, definitely a lot of stuff. So I've been kind of part-timing the ramp up, and like Lisa, go slow, don't break anything, kind of see what's going on. I've been trying to get the lay of the land. Been trying to figure out QuickBooks Nation Builder and Authorize.net all at the same time. so I can kind of figure out what we're working with now, and then build from there. This is more to keep me from going off in some direction than to remember what to say. I got a lot to say, but I got a short amount of time to say it. I've also been talking to people inside the park and out, just kind of what do you think about how we're doing, what are we trying to accomplish here, how are we doing at the things that you think we're trying to accomplish. If I haven't talked to you yet, I probably will. It's just there are a lot of us, and I'm kind of getting around, starting with people I spend more time talking with and going out from there. And I would invite any of you that have any suggestion box, to hit me up at amlang@lptexas.org or development@lptexas.org.
Yes.
With any thoughts you have after have you heard this and do some Q&A. I've also been doing a little recruiting. I'm a team guy, so I like looking at teams, and we have Sean Baker, who is also our new fundraising coordinator. And another guy in the pipeline that I think is going to come on board as a recruiting coordinator. More on that. We're just getting that process started. I had an interesting volunteer, and we'll see how that goes. And so we'll have a development team working on this issue that we addressed earlier of having not enough income to meet our budgeted expenses. I'm not happy with now that I've had a couple months to kind of sit on this and say, what have I got myself into? It seemed like a good idea at the time. The information I had is kind of shambles. Nation Builder has some duplications and some gaps, and it's kind of hard to get track of what's going on. There's a certain amount of since people quit being notified that their credit card was expiring, we have a lot of failed. I think we have a lot of people that don't realize that they're not members, they're not funding members. Or at least let me put it this way. According to my records, we have exactly 11 SLEC members that are funding members of the party. That's not 11, is it? But it's just 11 members that are funding. That's 6 silver, 4 bronze, and 1 basic. So that's what we're working with at the SLEC level. If I'm missing anybody, it's either because a lot of people at SLEC don't feel like it's their responsibility to give money, or it's because you didn't realize that sometime last year you fell off the radar. So for instance, talk to Tim, it's like, bro, what's up? And he's like, what? I'm a silver member, what do you want? It's like, well, you were a silver member. So the same day you'd be out there everything's cool. I've had another conversation like that, and Eric, in case you don't know, in 4 days your membership is going to lapse, and so I'm not going to look at that. So, but I can't do this. Like this whole thing, the first thing they said was, got these credit card things that come in. Maybe somebody can call us and tell these people that their credit card is expiring, so their card was declining. And I now have a list of about 150 people that need phone calls, and that's just stuff that's been coming into my email inbox in the last, and then stuff I've uncovered by digging around the Nation Builder and authorized. So first thing is to get back on the automatic notification plan, so that people actually are likely and automatically informed that they need to re-up, their credit card was declined. One of the things I don't know how this is going to work, but we'll have this conversation later. Is that I don't know why. I was an annual member at the bronze level because I could write a check for $100. And when I decided to go silver, I decided I'll go on a monthly plan and see how this works out. But as an annual member, I don't remember ever getting a notification that, hey, your annual member is lapsing, or are you going to renew? It would be a step in the right direction to have that, but I don't know why it's not automatic. In other words, if once you make the donation to become an annual member, why we wouldn't have that set up on a subscription basis as well? Like this is going to renew in a year automatically, and then you get the polite heads up, like, hey, in 30 days your annual membership's going to renew unless you opt out, something more like that. So there's some systemic things we need to address. Hang on just a second. Okay. So some systemic things we need to address just to get the flow better in the income generating side. Looking at, based on my experience in pitching a sale, or pitching an investment, what I'm looking for is there's got to be some value proposition. There's got to be something of worth that you're selling, there has to be a plan for how you can get there, and there has to be a team that's going to be able to bring that about, right? I mean, if you don't have those elements, then you don't really have anything to sell. I'm not interested in selling liberty like it's just kind of an abstract concept. And I don't really feel comfortable doing the needy, compassionate thing. Like, we're not starving children after we're not homeless migrants at the border. Like, we are service providers. We are selling to the marketplace government services. We want people to hire us to be their government, right? So, and we're trying to break into a market that's dominated by Coke and Pepsi. We're trying to sell some boutique soda, kind of thing. It's a tough market. It's a high stakes game. There are, based on some figures I saw from Stephen, we're looking at the Republican Party that spends $10 million in a year. Well, we're having trouble scraping up $10,000. Like, that's a problem. We're trying to get a Coke table where we can't afford the game, right?
Yeah.
So this is a big problem. It needs a big solution, right? So to do that, we need a value proposition, we need a strategy, and we need a team. Specifically, in the mind of the potential of the prospect, we need hope and we need trust, right? We have to have some way of instilling hope, and especially look around. Like, I assume that everybody in here is paying attention to what's going on in our culture. We are tearing ourselves apart. And a lot of people are just zoning out. Their approach to the general, I'll say decline. Maybe not everybody sees it that way. Maybe some people see this as the brave new world, we're going into the progressive future or whatever. But in the general meltdown that we're experiencing, a lot of people are just pulling the covers up over their heads and hoping that the monsters will go away. That's what we're up against. We have to somehow create some excitement. We have to create some hope, and we have to create some hope in the plan. Anybody can. Sorry if this steps on you. Not sorry if this steps on your toes. But anybody can paint a word picture of the anarcho-capitalist utopia that we're all going to live in when everybody gets woken up to just realize that that's better than being oppressed, right? Like, that's the easy part. But the systemic, practical, pragmatic part is, how do we get there from here? What's your plan? How are you going to get us there? What's step one? And if we don't have a plan, then all we have is pie in the sky, dreaming, vision casting stuff with no plan. If we had a plan, if we could come up with a plan, then we would need a team. We would need a credible team. We would need a competent team that I and other people that are engaged heavily in fundraising, this kind of specialization within this group, would feel good about pitching, and that other people would trust to be able to implement the plan, right? The plan's not just an idea on a whiteboard or something. The plan is something we can actually make happen. So, competence, people will look at us and say, are these guys competent? Are they getting shit done? Can I say shit? Sure.
Say it again.
That are getting stuff done that are setting goals and accomplishing their goals, because that's how you figure out if people can get shit done. The problem is we don't have a lot of goals. I mean, not specific, specific, measurable, and that is a problem in terms of fundraising. Like, people that can write big checks want to know, what are you going to use this for? What are you going to do with this? And what evidence do I have that you're going to actually do what you said you would do with it? That's why people a lot of times favor directed donations here instead of general donations, because they want to see specific. Vault was a good fundraiser because people could see the need and they want to be a part of that, so we can do some more stuff like that. But that's part of the strategies that leads to the fundamental goal of being in the governing business and not just in the always campaigning but never winning business, right? We want to step up. So one of the ways you can demonstrate commitment, if not competence, is, I have been asked many times, well, what's your skin in the game? Like, how are you invested in this? And if my response is like, well, I'm not. See, that's your job. I want you to put up all the money, and then I'm just going to do the stuff that needs to get done. That's not usually a comfortable sale. That's not a good way to approach that. There are investors that will not invest in something where the operators don't have skin in the game. Now, if you know people that will write big checks to people who have no skin in the game, then I would like you to join me on the development team and go talk to your people and bring back the money. I love the idea. I don't want to do that. But if you don't see the need, if you don't feel like part of being a leader is to lead from the front and to lead by example, then okay, I don't want to argue with you about that. I don't even want to hear about it really, but maybe you could at least go find somebody. Maybe you know somebody that's not a Libertarian Party member yet, funding member. Maybe you could bring somebody to the table, and we'll count that, right? So if you can't or won't be a funding member of the party, then fine, bless you. Could you please go find a friend that would kind of be your surrogate, and then we'll count that. No harm, no foul. Going forward from where we are here, here's what I'd like to ask of you. I'm excited about the possibility that through Marion's efforts we might actually get some kind of vision statement, like maybe we could start there. We could just all unify behind a common vision of what it is we're trying to do. I don't know, maybe not. We'll find out this afternoon. But we'll start there. Second, somehow we're going to have to come up with a strategic plan. In the commercial world, we call it business plan. Some of you guys have written business plans before. I don't think that's what we call it as a political party, but we would call it something. We call it our strategic initiative, or we would call it our strategic plan or something. And this would be our roadmap that would be our measuring stick for our results and being able to prove that we can actually get results and not just argue about what we're trying to do, right? So how we do that is a mechanical issue that we're not going to solve today, but that's where we are, is needing to come up with figuring out how we're going to come up with an actionable plan, right? We're lost without a compass or a map if we don't have a plan, and we can't raise big money on that basis. Finally, we have to have a team, a competent, committed team, skin in the game, getting shit done. And that's where I'm going to ask y'all, those that will participate, to join me in stepping up. This is what we call a call to action. I want everybody on SLEC to step up. That is my mantra, is lead from the front. I became a basic member when I first got involved with the party because I didn't really know you could be like an active member and not be a paid member. Like I didn't know I could do that. I could go without paying. When I got on SLEC, I became a bronze member because I just figured that's what I should do. When I got this gig, I was like, oh hell, now I got to be a silver, and if I'm going to ask y'all to take it up a notch, then I got to do it again. And this is why I'm going to ask y'all to vote on this motion. I get during this thing.
Yeah.
About it, as I went through my own thought process and then studied the data, it seems to me that there's a gap going from, let me finish. There's a gap going from silver to gold because there's kind of a big jump from $25 a month to $100 a month. And I know we have a couple of donors that are giving $50 a month or $60 a month. It's like, that really ought to be right? That ought to be a category of its own. And I looked at that two different ways. One, we create a new category, and then I can come up with a new name. You could have a titanium member, or a ruby member or something, and that just got so complicated. And then I reminded myself, it's like, we don't have anybody who's giving us $1,000 a month. We don't have anybody who's giving us $500 a month. So why don't we just drop the top categories down and make a gold member $50 a month, and a platinum member $100 a month, and a diamond member $250 a month, and a founders circle member $500 a month. That would mean the one guy that's not on SLEC who's actually a gold member right now could be promoted to platinum member and go him. And then it would give those that are at the silver level now, which is kind of our meat and potatoes, salt of the earth kind of donation. We have a certain number of people with silver on SLEC and not in SLEC. That's kind of a sweet spot. But there's that gap between 25 and 100. It's kind of like, well, hell. And You know, I know if we were all pure and noble and selfless, we would just give as much as we could without any thought of like what category we're in or what ribbon we're going to get to wear in terms of that. But those things work psychologically for a reason. They're out there. And if I'm looking at that going like, I don't know if I could do $100 a month, but I think I could do 50. Then there's probably somebody else that's out there having those same thoughts. That's my time opinion.
Yeah. Hey, it's recommend time, so you can keep going if you want to put your.
Well, I'm almost finished. Yeah, that's I appreciate it. And so I figure other people have that same thought too. I have already, I haven't done it because I haven't figured out how to work the software while we, if I signed up for $50 a month, we would just add that on top of my other, and now I'm in deeper than I want to be. But once I figure out the software, I already talked about John on that, I'm in for what I hope will be like the new gold level. Sean's already into the new gold level. The guy that I'm talking to about recruiting will come into that. And I would like to ask everybody else, wherever you are, if you have up until today figured that your time and your service year and your expenses that come to SLEC have been your gift to SLEC, to the LP Texas, then I would like you to consider writing a check for $25. One time. I won't bother you again until next year, which you guarantee I'll be happy next year. And if you're already basic, think about bronze. Do it on the monthly if you can't afford $100. $10 a month, come on. And if you're already bronze, consider silver, et cetera, et cetera. If you're already silver, think about it. Just think about it. Yep. You don't have to get blood. It's okay.
Yes.
Because I can't ask you to do something I'm not going to do.
Sure. Maybe I'm screwing these up here, but there was a very interesting conversation that was started on the forum.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe someone wants to make a motion for extra time to discuss this, or maybe we talk about it in time, but it was the issue of pay to play. Arthur mentioned it, and I believe that is a philosophical obstacle that we have to overcome as a party, because there are some people that absolutely, to them, it taints the waters somehow.
That's why I've been very specific. I'm not moving if we make, contributions or requirement for membership on SLEC or anything like that. I get it. Some people have conscientious objections.
I don't. And
I'm
willing to spread it.
But
apparently I'm a disease, and I like to spread it. If that's a disease, I like to spread it because it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The amount of money, you're right, the amount of money that gets spent by the old parties.
Yeah.
Renee, I would suggest, while I think that's a very interesting and important conversation to have, it's probably one better had around the state convention, because there's nothing this body can really do at this point.
But we are, the one significant thing that we do is control the budget of the party, so that's where skin in the game comes back. We want to spend other people's money, you spend a little bit around, I get it, it's expensive to come here, it's expensive to stay in a hotel, et cetera, but the guy that's thinking about writing a big check doesn't care about any of that. So I'm not putting a guilt trip on anybody, like, I'm not going to tell anybody if you didn't do it, but I'm asking those who hear what I'm saying and understand the importance of this to step up. I personally,
I mean, it's recommended now. You can,
okay.
Yeah, until someone
Well,
wants to close out.
Personally, I see this. I see a window of opportunity. I should have mentioned this earlier. I'm a big believer in big, hairy, audacious goals and BHAGs. And I am personally thinking in terms of I think we're about to see a meltdown, a political and cultural meltdown. If we don't end up in a shooting war, it'll be because the best option I see is that the Libertarian Party would be able to rise up in the ashes of the meltdown and provide a peaceful solution, a peaceful option for us to actually put hate on each other and organize behind something that will save the Republic, so to speak. That's where I'm coming from. You don't have to agree with me on that. But I'm telling you, that's why I see the next 2 years as being critical. If there was ever a libertarian moment, this is it. If we can't get attention, if we can't get traction, if we can't get votes through the roof in the 2020 election, then we are failing. And our competence is seriously called into question. So I have, looking at the next 2 years, going through our convention cycle, which will be challenge number 1, public elections in November, challenge number 2, and then the legislative session in 2021, challenge number 3. Looking at 2 years, I want to raise $1 million. That's what I'm thinking about as a framework, which again only gets us Doesn't even really get us a seat at the table with Republicans and Democrats, but it may allow us to change the public perception of the Libertarian Party as an easily ignorable clown show. Just those crazy people that are doing their thing, it doesn't matter, you know, wasting my vote on these guys, right? So $1 million in 2 years, that's the BHAG, and that, so I have to think in terms of where's the $1 million value proposition? What am I convincing big donors is worth $1 million? What would that look like? What kind of team would we have to be to inspire that kind of trust for somebody to hand over that kind of money? And so that's a way of framing it. So that's I've been asking $1 million question. I've been going to people and say, hey, Libertarian Party had a budget of $1 million. What would we do with it? And it's fun to watch because some people are like, you know, I got ideas, bang, bang, bang. Some people are like, I don't know what would we do with that. Last thing I'm going to say about that is that, and if you want to take a shot at that, email me. If I had $1 million, if I won the lottery, here's what I'd do. Or if I would kind of got to write $1 million check to the Libertarian Party, here's what I would want to see you guys doing with it. And then last thing I'll say about this, and then Q&A for as long as John will let me do it, is...
I would recommend afterward you make a motion, but...
Oh, yeah. But I want your money, yes, not for your money, but for the signal and for the pitch that I want to make to other people that have more money than all of us put together. But I just want to show them that we're a committed team. Showing them we're a competent team is the other part of that equation. So I just want to put it out there, plant a seed, lots to talk about, lots to do in the upcoming months. We need functional unity. Factionalism and personal issues have got to be checked at the door. We have to work together. We're all playing for the same team. We all want more of the same things than the things we disagree about. Some of us have timing issues, about when we want things, but we can sort all of those out. That's what this body's for, is to sort out those issues and figure out with a unified voice what we stand for. Well, I guess convention is to figure out what we stand for. This body is to figure out how we're going to get there, right? So we got to do that together. We got to do that plan for one team. I don't have to like you. I don't have to want to invite you over to my house for dinner or something like that. But I have to respect you, and I have to listen to your voice, and I have to figure out how we're going to work together to get this shit done. So. Yeah, that's you don't need it, that's fine. I've been in copy this first time.
This is actually a pretty good one. This is actually already on page 8, so I don't want it to confuse things. So yeah, let's take that out. Do you want me to? You want to read it?
I don't care. I'll read. Yeah. All I'm doing, what it does in substance is what I said. We just change the limits to stuff that's actually more actionable, where we might actually get a vote. If we ever get somebody that wants to donate $1,000 a month, we'll just name that level after that person.
Yes.
You're now a gun-to level member. But so what it said, I moved in policy manual section titled funding member as follows. Under the heading annual member, membership level, eligibility amounts. Change gold member to 500, platinum member to 1,000, diamond member to 2,500, pound circle member to 5,000. And under the heading sustaining member.
You mean 5,000?
What? Yeah.
Oh, I see.
That's what it says in the policy member.
Before you get to the motion, may I ask a question in front of the Q&A?
Oh, well.
That's up to you. You're
yeah, will it affect us?
No.
Oh.
It's just real quick.
Okay, yeah, quick question.
3 things. One is you're talking about leading, and I think with leading we need recognition.
Yeah.
And so with that, what I would recommend is could we, from now on, at the beginning of SLEC meetings, show the donations of people who want their donation to be seen, how much they've given this year and how much they've given over their lifetime, so those people can be recognized for their contributions and leading from the front. Second, I've been on the board of nonprofits, and a lot of them have, like you say, give or get, whether you give personally or you give contributions.
Yeah.
So it's getting out there. The third thing is I heard you ask right now for a gift from all of us to give $25 today. And I tell you what, if we get 10 checks of $25 or more, I will write a check right now for $250.
Okay. I don't think I finished it, but the sustaining member was this comparable change. Gold member goes to 50 a month, platinum to 100, diamond to 250, and founder's circle to 500. I didn't read that word for word.
Second. Cool. Motion is seconded. Is there any objection to the motion? There's no objection. Yes.
Point of information, can we rehear?
Yes. Do you want me to explain it just in layman's terms instead of reading off the page? So the effect of this motion is for 4, 5, 6, and 7 here. 4, the gold member is going to cut in half, and everything's going to shift down. And then it's saying here, the gold member is going to cut in half to 50, and all these are going to shift down one. So this will now be 500. This will now be. This will go to 500. This will go to 250, and this will go down to 100. Does that make sense? Okay. Is there anyone else who needs clarification on the motion? Mr. Glass?
I'd like to make a motion for a bio recess break for 10 minutes. It appears to me that we have time for that.
I do think we do. Can we finish the motion?
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so I heard a motion in a second. Is there any objection to this motion?
Just the upper levels, those are one-time donations or?
Yes, these are
This is annual, and this is what it's supposed to be annual. Like that would be another change to the policy manual, because it says when you make a one-time donation of this, you become an annual member for this, which is a little squirrely in my opinion. We should have the opportunity for people to make one-time donations, but those are usually directed as to the fundraise things. Usually if people are trying to join the party, that's where I'd like to see them actually become an annual gold member or whatever, with a recurring subscription that's going to auto-renew unless you opt out, that kind of stuff.
Is there a credit card machine we can follow through?
Can we swipe credit cards?
There's not a credit card machine, but I'll be more than happy at some time to get my computer, and we'll get you on the website, and you can do it from the website.
Oh, sure,
That's-
yeah.
that's-
Yeah, that would be
That
awesome.
was my question. If we donate to the website, will you match it that way?
As long as they give me proof that you guys.
I can do that.
And I get 10 people or more, $25 more.
Right, I'm
I'm
in.
in.
Okay. I'm glad we have a motion on the floor. Ms. Glass? Okay, anything else related to the motion? Okay, so let's not do that.
No objection.
Is there any objection to the motion? I hear no objection, motion passes.
All right.
I don't know how we're considering a lifetime. I'm a lifetime member, or Perry lifetime member. Signed up for this. We were told that if you became a national lifetime member, you were also a state lifetime member, because there was a sharing thing going on at that time. So, am I a lifetime member of the Libertarian Party of Texas or not?
So I can answer that question. You're actually, you fall into a bucket with a lot of people who were around during that time. I know another one is Roger Gary, I think, has the same thing going on. I know that. I know that existed. I know that happened. I know a lot of people contributed to it. And in my mind, if you did, you're absolutely a lifetime member of the state party. Here's the problem. I have absolutely no record of who these people are, so I don't really know how. Yeah, and you know, I clearly believe it. And if there was any way for us to retrieve these records, I would like to do that and recognize those people.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel really bad. I feel like they got gypped on the whole deal, but I don't know how to reconcile that. So I'm sympathetic, I'll say.
I move the bio break for 10 minutes.
I heard 15.
15
Second, okay, I'm done.
Yes. Any objection? 15-minute recess? Order? I hear no objection. happy to inspect with you. I just need to, I need to take my break now, but I will.
Yeah, whatever.
Or if you want
Yes, sir.
Is this something that we could have a specific targeted fundraiser with someone so that we don't have to pass this?
Yeah, so I thought about that, I mentioned that in the forum, that, you know, if we just raise the funds right here, right now, we could pay for the next meeting. I think it's something, I think I threw out a number like $10 a person would pay for the next meeting, something like that. Yes, but we would need some kind of a project that we have to start.
Yeah, so the policy right now, we write up a project, we talk about what the funds are going to be spent on, if there's leftover funds, what happens with those. We take all that, and I submit it to you guys. I actually don't even have to have you guys say yes. Submitting it is enough for us to do it. However, y'all can then come back and say no. Like, y'all could veto it, but it's just assumed we're going to move forward as soon as I give you the information. And then we can do it like that. So to answer your question, we could do that.
Okay, Renee, really quick.
Yeah, so what was the point of going to a place like Washington County? Is that an affiliated county? In other words, is it an opportunity to go to the card?
I think I could use it for that. I would resent being told as a libertarian how we can spend our money. You're talking our budget.
That's true. Touche.
Is that a legitimate project goal? Is that to grow membership in a particular county?
I don't know that SLEC meetings grow counties. I don't think that's a good, I don't know. Maybe, yeah, maybe. If you were to ask me, yeah.
I was going to say, I can tell you in terms of past, when Pat was chair, he tried to do this thing where we had a select meeting. The body was smaller then, but we had a select meeting. And then afterward, there was some kind of event. And we passed the bucket of the event, and then the event would make money and pay for the select meeting. That didn't work.
What I would like is some central text, someplace fairly central located, in a smaller city, at a venue that, like Rick talked about, that it gives us a lower cost to meet. If you do it in the lower cost venue, I mean, in a smaller city, you know your hotel rooms are going to be pretty good already anyway. It may not be integrated with it, but that's no big deal from my perspective. So that's the kind of thing, and I don't want to spend a lot of money. I mean, we hear that the money is tight. We do, I'm glad to see we're raising more money, but if we're raising money to kind of meet in luxury, I'm not a big down for that. So I don't know if I need a motion. It sounds like we need a motion in terms of authorize the budget. So
I haven't yielded for motions at this time.
So, I mean, so are you looking for a motion now or not?
I'm not. I'm yielding for questions only at this time.
Okay.
But I agree with you, Tom. It does sound like we need a motion. I do have one in mind. But I also agree. I want to challenge really quick. You're thinking about the expense. This meeting costs everyone in this room to attend this about $10 a person for this party to have this event. And you think about just this space, what we're getting. You have nice chairs, air conditioned. We're not having to do the setup and tear down. No deposit that we put at risk if we don't clean up or we damage anything. So for $10 a person, this is not expensive. We're not living in the lap of luxury here. We're not at the freaking Four Seasons.
24 a person.
What's that?
Or 20 to 24 a person. Because we have to buy our internet.
Well, no, the internet is free if you sign up for bundle.
No,
I'm not free internet right now.
Not if you're not a guest.
Correct.
So, yeah. So, let me get back to what the target I was on. So, we have a great facility. We could probably do it for cheaper in a smaller market. Same concept. I don't know that I recommend that we get into it, let's do it dirt cheap, and then we find out that we're on the hook for deposits, minimum work, that type of thing. So if somebody can do the legwork and come to me with something better, fine. I think we at least do a motion, which I'm going to probably hope that somebody makes a motion here soon, for about $600. We probably come under that in a smaller market. And I agree with you, Tom. Something central, that's small, and you didn't say this, but I think you were saying maybe repeat that meeting, like have a one, as that one place, or will you just say as a one-off?
I'm indifferent about that. I mean, once you find.
Do you remember when we did, Waco, and it was like a four meetings that we booked there? I think we got it for like $400 a meeting.
Yeah, we got bored.
Yeah, we just got bored of it, right? Yeah.
Around.
Yeah. But something along those lines, yes.
Just one more question, the suggestion for the meeting being held at the convention location after it is selected. Will we also need to go ahead and authorize a budget for our SLEC meeting there as well?
Suppose that this body wants to do that, and I think that's a great idea. No, the convention committee can negotiate that with the venue and possibly get it for free. Possibly, especially if it's the one before. Is that what you guys did before? Yeah.
And I would say that one would probably be in the January to March area, so that would be on next year's budget anyway, so that's not even.
So, yeah, once, if this body, passes a budget for convention and we select our venue, the convention committee would go back to that venue, and before we say, hey, we want, we'd say, hey, we want to talk about your contract, we'd like to have this as a meeting. So we have some negotiating. Okay, so any other questions at this time? Yes, sir.
Sorry, I said it was the last one, but I'm libertarian.
We've got, let's be libertarian, we've got 2 meetings left this year, right?
This year, yes.
Election.
Annual year, calendar year.
This calendar year, on this budget, we have 2 meetings that we need to negotiate for.
Yes.
We don't need to have 2 meetings.
Correct. We don't need to have 2 meetings.
We don't need to, so if we do get into this motion, one meeting, one budget or one meeting would be adequate. for what we need. Yes, sir.
You said $10 a person for this meeting, so does that mean we're at $400 to have this venue?
Yeah, we're at, well, no, I was counting everybody, we're
Okay.
about 60 people.
So about $600.
Yeah, we're about
for this.
$600 for this. Yeah.
Versus the smaller venue is about $400.
We could get this exact thing in a similar, well, probably not this exactly, but some of the meetings we had, like, let's say a few quarters ago where we were in Tyler, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was about 450 in that smaller market. I wouldn't say it's exactly like this, but it was
a pretty good
It
size.
was a good size, good space, hotel, slept there, ate there, restaurant, yeah. About 450. So for, you can figure about that variant, about 25% variance in the bigger markets.
So 150 a quarter, we're talking $600 for a year?
No, per.
Right, so, but the difference between this, this
Yeah, the difference
so
is
the 600 we're talking about
which
is
is why I'm
$600.
saying it's about $400 to $600, depending on the market you choose, to continue to do the meetings in this way. Leveraging our sleeping rooms, leveraging our meeting space, and one venue that kind of turnkey solution.
See, what he's getting is he can get the room, this room probably cheaper, saying, hey, I've got at least 10 libertarians going to sleep there, and so they're looking at revenue, even though they're giving us a 10% discount, it's all money. It all comes down.
No, I get it, I just wanted to quantify
For sure,
what
as
we're,
we're thinking about it.
what we're trying to weigh.
Go ahead.
One of the things everything's relative, right? We talked about the rooms that where people stayed in this facility were cheaper than you otherwise would have stayed if you just come as an ordinary guest.
Yes.
Okay, but the question I have is, if you went to Washington County or you went to San Marcos or et cetera, wouldn't the hotel rooms be is about the same price as you negotiated here or less already anyway?
No. Transient hotel room in a smaller market would be about the rate we got here.
Right.
Right? Transient, right? So, yes, you can book it for yourself, right? But if we went to a smaller market and did the same thing, we're looking at $89 rooms, right? So it's relative, it shifts there. So we can continue our room block, sleeping room block at 10, and leverage $89 rooms as opposed to $120 yesterday.
I move that we authorize $600 for our next meeting.
All right, we have a
We
motion on the
have a
floor.
motion on the floor, so I'll stand back.
Is there any objection to the authorization?
I object.
You object? Do you have a,
Well, I wanted to say something before.
but before you do, you want to speak to your motion?
I think we're
talking circles around this, and whether we can authorize the funds and then negotiate where we're gonna spend it, and if we don't have to spend all the $600.
I basically agree with that. The concern was, why not authorize more than that to cover someone like to do this again in case it comes up? We're still gonna be making the decision. And any money, this is also a specific motion to authorize for a meeting, and I would prefer to authorize events budget, so any unused money there can be, the events department will have a little bit of latitude, it's not a lot of money, to spend on any incidental expenses that might come up that they need to take care of. I'd rather see it as an events budget than a meeting room motion, meeting room motion. But if that goes down that way, I'm not gonna complain.
So do you want to amend that, or?
Motion?
I do, I don't know the amount, I guess I could double that. I would substitute with, authorize, $1,200 for the events department.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna get this on a template, and then I will edit that template for your amendment, and
1 minute?
it's relative.
I'm almost up.
So authors is really to increase something that's already in the budget?
No, we're authorizing $600 for select meetings, and he is recommending
But what,
600 to 12.
For the events.
No, you were just amending the.
No, it was to, authorize it for the events department. It was to change the events department, increase the events department.
I got you. Okay, so let me get that on here. So review.
Who cares?
And here we go. A little too far. Okay.
We're gonna motion to amend?
Alright, so we have the original motion and second, move to authorize $600 for select meetings, and the amendment, tell me if it's right here, $1,200 for events department, correct? Everybody clear? Second. Alright, is there objection to this amendment?
Objection.
There's objection, okay. I think you've already spoken to, okay, is there anyone speak against this?
Yeah.
Please.
I think I've about concluded, thinking about what we have going for the rest of the year. I think we only need one meeting. I mean, I'm hearing what Anthony's saying. We don't want to meet in December. I remember everybody saying, do not ever again. And then you say, okay, we're already kind of late on this cycle in July. And I'm just thinking through the months, and I'm thinking a September or October meeting is probably the right thing. I know that messes with football. I think that's probably right. And then we don't need another one, especially I don't see any burning issue. I can't think, like everybody else, I can't think of any burning issues. And so this implies that we're going to be doing two. And so I have an objection for that. I'm probably going to do an amendment to lower the money too. But I'm thinking this implies 2 meetings, and I don't like that. That's why I'm speaking against it. So we can try again.
I just wanted to speak as treasurer. If you looked at my report, you can see that the departments get money. If they don't spend it, it's just there. You know, it doesn't get spent. I think this is smart, just in case, so we don't have to do all this again. It's there. If we don't use it, it doesn't get used. It's fine. It's just in a fund for this purpose. I mean, I don't see any problem with it, but it's not like this is, Tim's gonna be like, I got $1,200, I'm gonna spend an extra $500 on this meeting, you know. Let's just go ahead and do it and move on.
Ms. Scripter?
I would like to speak in favor of this motion, and in addition to speaking in favor of this motion, the reason I would like to do that is because I believe you said we have $150 left
Ish,
now?
yes.
So
Memory
that
serves.
would leave 1,050 that we would need in addition to the budgeted amount. And because I don't necessarily believe that this is saying we're gonna have to go to 2 meetings, because I'm pretty sure all of you know that I'm not in favor of that. What I will say is if we do approve this motion, I would personally pledge $525 if the rest of SLEC will donate up to $525. So that this way it's not hurt on the state. Yeah.
Legit.
I just want to say, I'm not inclined to have two meetings. I don't think giving the events department that money means Tim is going to automatically go out there and arrange a meeting without our consent. I don't think that makes sense. We're still a body that's going to be making decisions if we want to meet again. That's up to us. That giving our department money doesn't make that happen on our own.
Any other, yes?
I'd like to speak for this amendment as regarding the potential for a burning issue that we may have to speak to or about to do business upon is the lawsuit regarding filing fees. That might be an issue that we may have to speak to. It may take 2 meetings to cover it.
In the, Eric.
I'd like to call a question.
Call all pending questions?
Yes.
Okay. We'll go ahead and vote on that. All in favor of calling all pending questions, raise your hand. All opposed? That passes. So we'll proceed to a vote on all pending questions. First, we will deal with the amendment from 600 to 1200 and from select meetings to events department. All in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? Amendment passes. Now we will go ahead and deal with the, let me accept all changes. Boom. Now we will move to the motion. All in favor of the motion on the screen, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, guys.
A point of information. My objective is I'd like to get a sense of the body, if they agree with me that 1 meeting for the rest of the year instead of 2 is right. And I'd also like to see if there, to get a sense of the body as a smaller market versus a larger market in Central Texas.
I'm getting that sense, Tom, from the body.
Is it that, should we have, should I need a motion, or can we just have a little vote, or what Mr. Chair?
I'm committed to a smaller market for the next meeting. I chose Austin, guys. I said as much. There was, I guess, Governor Abbott called a special session at one point in July, and so I just thought we should, if that happened again, I was trying to anticipate that because it's a legislative year, so it's Austin, we do business in Austin, that's where we do business. So with their meeting, we should be meeting here. But that's over with, we'll move to a smaller market. I don't want to spend the 600. I'd rather spend 4. So, yeah. Yes, go ahead.
I did just want to bring up, the reason we traditionally met in December, one of the main things that is at the December meeting is the budget. But there's not usually a lot of contention about the budget, so we could probably do that online WebEx. You know, if everybody was okay with that, we could do a September, October meeting and then just pass the budget in December online.
Something to think about. Yeah, I don't book this space. I don't start looking or talking to venues until I know you guys want to have the meeting in the first place.
So just to finish up, in terms of 1 meeting or not, do we need to have a motion? I mean, or even just a little vote? I mean,
How about this? And unless anyone wants to call me on technicalities here, I'm going to step a little bit outside of my realm, and I'm asking everybody to bear with me. If you're in favor of 1 meeting, can you raise your hand?
Generally.
If you're in favor of 2 meetings, can you raise your hand? Okay, so it sounds like most people want 1 meeting. If you're in favor of a smaller market, can you raise your hand? If you're in favor of a market this size or so, can you raise your hand? So it sounds like 1 meeting, smaller market is kind
The meetings, as far as whether or not we need the second meeting, or the last meeting of the year, I think it should be, if we need it, it should be available, because, I mean, we don't know what things might transpire in the next couple months that we may have to meet. So that's where I want to keep it as, that's somewhat as, have it as an option, to keep it open.
So, If I can respond to that.
Go ahead, John.
I completely agree with that sentiment, that we should only have a meeting when we need it. I would love to do that. We could have them more or less as business comes up that we need. Here's the reality of the situation. It takes about a month of our volunteers working to make this happen. And if something comes up where we suddenly need a meeting, it's usually not something that we can do a month from then. And so having a meeting when we need it is just not a practical thing, unless it's one of the rare issues that we needed in a month. So that's why we kind of just tend to schedule these things out so we can hit the things that come up when they come up. If something comes up that needs to be dealt with, well, it usually ends up getting dealt with on the forum, on a call, on a WebEx, because those are the kind of things that are time sensitive. So I completely agree with the sentiment, it's just not practical.
Well, guys, I'm going to move on. Just to give you an update on the convention committee, I think you guys are in for an incredible report. They did a phenomenal work. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm yielding the rest of my time without having so that we can just move on with this meeting, okay? Thank you guys for your time.
We are, and this is awesome, about 10 minutes ahead, so we're pretty much on track. We have lunch scheduled till 1:30.
I have an announcement to make that I did order 11 pizzas from Domino's to be delivered here of different varieties. They're supposed to be delivered by 11:45.
I'll donate $250 for
Order.
Just for the case of expediency, if y'all want to adjourn for lunch, that's fine, but I only need like 5 minutes for the vault update, and I can do that real quick.
Yeah.
We can move that.
Does someone want to move to suspend the agenda to take vote now?
I move to suspend the agenda to listen to the fall presentation.
Second.
Any objection? No objection, Ms. Crick?
Can we hold it to the 5 minutes? Some of us have to check out of the hotel.
You hear that?
Do you want me to do it or not?
No, please go ahead, just keep it brief, is what he was saying.
Yeah, I'm pretty quick on this. So, thank you guys for letting me switch this up from the very end of the day. That sucked. A couple updates on the vault. We've got all of the data loaded that we got from the state. We started running some reports on it for candidates, and we discovered that the data that they have doing the delineation for offices, specific offices to county and precinct level is completely jacked up. Like, it's so bad. So our next step that we're going to have to do is move all of our data off of our MySQL database into a new type of database called PostgreSQL, and we can do this on our existing infrastructure that we have right now. The benefit to PostgreSQL is this, and it's fantastic, and I'm excited about it, is with PostgreSQL database, we will now be able to use geospatial locations. So what is going to happen is we've got a super expert, Aaron Close, is very familiar with this type of information. So what he will be able to do is pinpoint, okay, so these are the locations for specific offices that we have, and then he will be able to locate specific donors on maps for people. So now what this is going to do is really cut the cost of creating block walking maps and things like that. So it is more of an effort. We're going to have to rebuild the database again, and we're going to have to clean up the data that we got from the state, because it's going to be so much better for all of our candidates. He was going to start working on that pretty quickly. He got called into some stuff for work, and in the meantime, I'm migrating the data over. I'll give you a couple of stats that we have here, and I'll tell you the kind of data that I can pull for you right now. We've got all 254 counties properly located. Our precincts, we've got 8,832 precincts. Now, the identification of the precincts are accurate, but their assignment to specific offices are not. So I'm not going to be able to give you information as far as your offices go. But what that does mean is I can give you data at the county level, and I can give you data at the precinct level. And I can give you data at the statewide level if you're running for a state office.
Those would be the only offices that I can support at the time. We have got 16,819,000 voters over the last 10 years in our database. That's a pretty big pool of data to go through, and this includes our voting history. And that brings our voting history data that we have to over 104 million data points that we can pull in so that we can do some real analysis on that. So with that, that's what I've got involved right now. Wow.
How soon can we make requests from our counties?
If you want county data, you can just let me know today, and I can pull it up. I've got the database already open right there.
Okay, so
put it
we
into
can
data.
contact you?
Yes.
Are there any other members on the team, or just you, or how does it work?
Well, right now, all the reporting requests are going through me because I really want to have Aaron focusing on getting the GIS data.
Okay.
Set up, because that's really his true value.
Yeah, and from Harris County, I'm going to be asking for Harris as well as surrounding counties for Harris because of our districts go out.
Is that all right with SLEC? That's the only thing, because we did put some regular rules in when we started the bulk on who can access what. I don't mind depending on what the body wants to do as far as that goes, so, yes.
Yeah, the reason is because, we'll just take Senate districts, we have 8 that are in whole or in part in Harris County.
Yeah.
So if I want to find for a SD 17 candidate, I have to get the data from Fortune and Paradise and that. So just cutting off at county lines doesn't really.
Well, you're welcome to make a motion to buy. I'm not going to make that decision.
I'll say historically, and I know this really applies very specifically to this instance, and maybe something broader on a policy maybe needs to be developed for other instances. But historically, as far as statewide data, we provided statewide data to members of SLEC and members of the state party without, regard to their county area. So for candidate recruitment in this case, as a member of SLEC,
Okay, so do I need a motion or not? Do I need a motion for the request that I've done?
Oh,
yeah,
I don't know.
As Harris County, as a SLEC member in Harris, an officer in Harris County, I want to get data for Harris County and surrounding counties.
I don't think that you need a motion for you right now. If you want to talk about something broader about what all the counties can do, yeah, probably.
Is that good enough for you, Liz?
I really don't care. John.
I have a point of information, because I know when you share data with anybody, then they work that data. Does that data then get put back into the system, or is now our data?
I don't trust other people's data. I mean, I'm already cleaning up crap data as it is.
I see.
Okay. From the state.
I have a money question.
Okay.
So right now, the only expense that I know of for the fall project is the ongoing web services database expense, which with our remaining, we have remaining funds of $1,330.30.
Okay.
So that should last for 13 months.
And we will have to do another drive.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah,
Is
we are going to
do
have to
you
buy
have any
those.
expenses coming up in the next year other than Amazon Web Services?
So we do have to do the poll for the most recent elections data, and then we're going to have to do a poll after May elections as well.
So just for everybody's information, the last poll was $5,537.
It will not be that much. That was for 10 years.
Okay, so do you have an idea of what it will be?
My guess would be about 1,500 to 2,000.
So we definitely have to raise more money to keep that.
I think we can.
I know we can.
I think we can, right?
I want to make sure everybody knows that that's the need.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Could you tell me the name of the new database you're moving it over to again?
It is called PostgreSQL, POSTRE, and then capital SQL.
Okay.
Well, if that's everything, we're actually right at 11:50 now. All right. Well, before we, you have a motion you want to make? If somebody wants to make a motion to recess for lunch.
Motion to recess for lunch.
Second. Any objection? No objection. Please don't get up as out of this. Okay, cool. I'm going to stop the stream.